What's up, guys? It's Eli Knight here, and we had a new video today, and I'm using my buddy Tarik, who's down here visiting me in North Carolina. He's from back in Kentucky. We trained together at Three Rivers for hundreds of years, and I thought it'd be a good idea for a video because I get people asking me in comments about differences between platas, if you're not familiar with different types of platas. So you hear things like Omoplata, Gogoplata, Tarikoplata, Baratoplata, and so I thought I'd use Tarik for that. Now, he didn't invent that one, the Tarikoplata. Tarik Hopstock actually invented that, and I'll put a link to his channel because it's an amazing channel on YouTube. But I thought we would go through and give you kind of a general breakdown of what distinguishes these things. Now, first of all, I'm not going to get too deep into the etymology. I think that one of the original ones was like Omoplata, which basically means like shoulder blade in Portuguese. Then this started kind of different permutations of it whenever there's like an adjacent kind of plata technique. So to start with, let's look at the basic kind of omoplata. If we start from, say, guard, and a place, we can get to omoplata a lot of different ways. Gi, no gi, there's different techniques, there's different combinations of moves. One that I like a whole lot is whenever we can start getting into this kind of pyramid guard. So this pyramid guard here generally looks like this. I break Tarik down into this position. My foot's on his hip. I've got my knee here. My shin is in his bicep. My other leg is coming over his back. My heel is close to my knee on that side. So he's boxed into this pyramid structure here like this. Now, sometimes he will turn, twist, posture up, give me different energies, and that will result in different submission opportunities. If sometimes he knows better and he's like, he doesn't want to give me like a triangle opportunity or anything, he may just hang out here. So in this case, omoplata is a really good option for whenever the guy's just kind of hanging out and kind of stuffing my leg. So what I'm going to look to do from here is I'm going to shove his face away and get my leg over in front of his face. I'm essentially going to use this leg here now as a frame. And the frame is going to be responsible for pulling my bottom leg out. So I'm going to let go of this wrist now. I'm going to grab my ankle and I'm going to brace my knee, and I'm going to start to retract this knee over here. Now, as I do that, I want to make sure that I keep his arm here kind of over in my pocket. So I'm monitoring his wrist. I don't want his arm to get across because he's going to have more mobility in his shoulders. So I'm trying to limit that mobility, as it were. So now the big thing that I need to do from here is I need to flatten him out as much as possible. As long as his hip and his shoulder remain off the floor, he has ability to posture up and counter my move somehow, or step over or flip out. So what I want to start to look to do from here now is I'm going to cross my 2 feet. I'm going to use this kind of ice pick method, more 10th planet style. There's also different ways that we can use a figure 4 as well that's also effective, but I like this because it's going to jam his shoulder to the floor as I shove this down. Now, as I do that, it sets and rocks me up, and I'm going to reach over, block his hip out on this side so he doesn't try to roll out on me too fast. And now I'm going to start hipping out to the side, and I want to monitor the wrist with my other hand. So I'm blocking the hip, and I'm monitoring the wrist. As I scoot out to the side and cut my angle, I want to S-curve my 2 legs here in this position. Now, from here, I can just post on my hands and come up and finish traditional omoplata style, or I can start to pick this arm up over here on this way. I like this a lot because there's no chance of him rolling out at this point, and his twisting and turning is extremely limited too. I can even finish with an arm lock on this side, or I can still use this until I'm able to reach and sit up and get my knee to the floor. So that's kind of a basic type entry to the omoplata, which is going to be kind of the jumping off point for all these different platas. Probably the second most popular of the platas that you'll hear is the Gogoplata, and by adjacent to the Gogo clinch and other kind of stuff too. Gogoplata essentially is, it's not really about the shoulder at all, it's more of a choke. So whenever we get into a position, and again, we'll kind of start it from that same kind of idea of this pyramid guard here like this, right? So when I start to pass this here, sometimes what will happen is the guy will start to turn and square back up so that I don't isolate his shoulder for that omoplata position. But it allows me to keep my shin here going across his neck. And then at this point here now, the couple different ways you can finish it. I can reach behind all the way around, and I can grab my toe and use this one arm and one leg to finish while I maintain monitoring over here so that he doesn't defend very well. But another way that we can do it, and I like this way better because it's more reinforced, is I can hold on to his head with this shin still in front, and I can retract my leg here as if I were going to do a triangle, but instead I'm going to cross my legs in front of his neck. Now at this point, I can grab this head and pull it straight down into my shin, causing the choke, or I can reach up kind of like a paper cutter and I can pull my heel down into that shin, and it's very tight. There's a lot of pressure straight in on his trachea here. So it's a really nasty really sharp choke. Because it kind of originates from that same kind of Omoplata setup, and there's similar elements to the Omoplata, it kind of gets the name Gogoplata. Let me know if you are a little bit more adept in Portuguese, or the origin, the etymology of these different terms, and where you think that the term Gogo comes from in the Gogoplata, and for that matter, Omoplata and all the other ones we'll talk about. A couple of them that are a little bit more exotic, I guess, or a little more current. And there's one by Rafael Ferreiras called the Baratoplata. And the Baratoplata is interesting because it is a shoulder lock, and so it does have more of an Omoplata quality. It can also be a little bit of a pressure lock, so that's why I included it on one of my instructionals that I have on BJJ Fanatics called Compressions, Sandwiches, and Slicers. It's not technically supposed to be a compression lock, but it just happens to be sometimes. It has those elements. But basically, here's how it's going to work. And again, we can set it up from different kind of areas, but the place I want to start looking at it from is we're going to do, let's turn this a little bit. I'm going to set it up from like a reverse Kimura here. So this kind of Russian tie or Russian pinch kind of element here. So if I were doing this from, say, a butterfly guard, you can also do it from closed guard. But I get the grip here, and like I'm going to do an arm drag. So the reverse Kimura type grip here is I'm holding the wrist, I'm cutting in behind the arm here like this, so I'm pulling the elbow in and I'm pressing his palm back toward his hips like this. So now, at this point, what I'm going to look to do is I'm going to bring this leg here over his shoulder on this part here. I also like to add into it stepping on the hip, because that's going to give me extra torque. It's going to elongate his body, and it's going to take his foundation over his center, or the center over his foundation rather. So when we look to do that and I start to cup in, my hand winds up on my thigh like this, and I come over his shoulder. And so this entry here like this makes it more of a Baratoplata. Now, I'll make the note here that I am grabbing from behind, my arm enters from behind, my hand is on my thigh, and his forearm winds up kind of in between my legs like that. Now to finish this, to get the pressure I need for the shoulder lock, I'm gonna usually look to reach over here on this side and start to turn myself underneath as if I were spinning for a triangle or for an arm lock on the other side. But that's going to add the torque in that we need. And essentially what's happening is it's completing that reverse Kimura with the use of my legs and hips. So it's a really powerful lock, and you can enter it from a lot of different places, top and bottom. But that's an example of the basic kind of fundamental structure of it from the guard, particularly from butterfly guard, as it were. By association, when you see the Tarikoplata, a lot of times, if you've never seen this before, then a lot of times it will look like the Baratoplata if you're more familiar with that. There is a little bit of a difference, and I'll kind of illustrate the difference here. Lots of different ways, of course, to set it up as well. And one of the places that I think it's really good from, that I see Tarikoplata set this up and really successfully in competition. And again, you can check out his channel and his competition videos. But a lot of times if the guy is going like double underpass on me. So the problem with the double underpass is, like, if he is able to really bunch my legs up, he's going to complete this pass, and it's going to be a powerful pass. So it's important that I keep his hands separated, and to block this pass, I'm going to shoot up and I'm going to catch his shoulder on one side. Initially, I catch his shoulder, but as soon as I can, I want to pass down below his elbow so that I get his elbow here exposed. So now once his elbow is exposed, now his arm is bent in the direction that I need it, and now I'm going to start to pass this over. Now once I pass this leg over his head, you'll start to already notice that now the thigh grab, like I had on the Baratoplata, this looks very similar. Now, one of the biggest differences here is that I'm entering from in front of the arm, but I need to change that. So once we get to this position now, I'm gonna shoot that arm through at it. So we go here, and I can shoot that arm through, and now I'm grabbing my thigh. So this already looks very similar to the Baratoplata. The main difference is where his wrist is. His wrist is in the bend of my knee at this point, so it looks a little bit more like a Kimura instead of being on my crotch like the Baratoplata had. So at this point here, now I may be able to finish it, but to relieve the pressure, what will happen a lot of the time is he'll try to roll out of this position. And as he does, and we go here this way, when you roll out, we're gonna wind up coming here. So now, you'll notice that this is still intact. His wrist is still behind my knee, and I'm still sitting here kind of in this position. I can base out, I'm blocking here by his hip, and then I'm gonna continue to turn and rotate that direction so it gets that shoulder lock pressure, and it's really nasty, lots of torque. And again, you still do have a little bit of that compression feel to it on the forearm and on the bicep. So sometimes they'll tap to the pain of that before the shoulder lock comes into full fruition. So again, that's the Tarikoplata versus the Baratoplata versus the Gogoplata versus the Omoplata. I know that there's lots of other modern innovations in terms of, there's like a Baratoplata, there's all kinds of different platas out there. Let me know in the comments what kind of plata you like and where I can find it, and you know, maybe diagnose that a little bit. But these are the ones that really, I think, do a good job of isolating the structure and differentiating between shoulder locks and chokes. I hope you like this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, as long as they're polite. And thank you, Tariq. I appreciate you, brother. And thank you, Mikhail, behind the camera. Keep watching the Night Jiu-Jitsu channel, guys. Like, subscribe, share, all that stuff.